It is getting harder and harder for me to try and keep up with these players' games in the sense of strategy, in the sense of logic, because there is absolutely no logic, or there's just a whole lack of sense on almost everyone's game and what they're doing in this game. We're going to start with America and Corey, I suppose. We had some little showmance moments from last night, I guess, if you want to call it a showmance. It's getting a little popular online with the same people that used to stand Derek X and Hannah. I could have got on board with Derek X and Hannah, but both of them were so shy in the house. A little bit of moments here and there. This is different in the sense that there is someone of the two actually pushing for this at times, that being America. You have America, who is always flirting with Corey, cuddling with Corey, and Corey, who's basically uncomfortable. I think it is just awkward mostly. It's very much an awkward mance to me, and not a showmance. I'm gonna try and be as nice as possible about this supposed showmance, but I'm not very nice when it comes to Big Brother players most of the time. I talked about Corey yesterday and his kind of awkward, almost pathetic energy. He's young though, so I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. But he is the one that makes this awkward, in my opinion. And I get that he is uncomfortable with it because I think he's very inexperienced, and America is older than him, but not by much. I mean, I see people online talking about the age difference, and the age difference is like 5 to 5.5 years. Give me a break. It's not a big age difference, not a big age gap whatsoever. I've dated a woman who was 11 years older than me, and a woman that's 8 years younger than me. So, like, I've been in bigger age gaps, and I don't think it's necessarily awkward. I mean, he's 21. He's almost 22. It's not like he's a kid, okay? He's a man at this point. He's going to be 22 years old. He is just inexperienced and awkward. I think a big part of the reason I dislike this completely, there's several reasons, honestly, but A, it just continues to hurt Corey's game. And Corey was, America and her game has never got an out of low tier to me. Like, it's never completely got out of a low tier game. Corey's was mid tier, almost on its way to high tier at one point, only a little over a week ago, really. He has strategies that can work if he had a social game, really. But he still has strategies that can work if he had somebody to help him. America's not the one to help him, though. Ever since he's been trying to help America, save America, play for America, and not the country, the woman in the house, his game has been sinking more and more and more because it has exposed him, because she went and exposed him, telling his information to others. And I think it's just making his game more obvious. And now that they're like having the showmance and the whole house is seeing them as this, and last night they're together in the room for a long time where everyone else is talking and everybody else is talking about them, making fun of them with the condoms. It's just not good for either of their games, but especially Corey's. He's already been exposed, and now they think he's just this close to America. I don't see how this is good for him whatsoever. It's like everyone in this house constantly tries to make their games harder for them. They are continuing to make their own games harder for them. It's like they want to take the hardest paths possible to win this game. And it's not just Corey, it's everyone. But right now, this past week, Corey's game has been sinking, in my opinion. He has had a really bad week. And it's not just America's fault. In fact, it's far more his fault than America's. He's the one that continues to stick his neck out too far for America. He's the one that continues to talk too much. Even his jokes lately have been too off-putting. Talking shit to Suri, it's going to build up. I mean, they're jokes, but they're not always going to land. And it's going to just make his game that's already obvious more obvious. I think he also talks to Izzy too much. He tells Izzy too much information, who brings that back to people. That exposes Corey's game. He is the leaking faucet of the house right now. They continue to take turns of who talks too much, but it is definitely Corey right now. And another big part that has been bad for his game is I think he screwed himself not keeping Heisem last week. His game would actually still be in a good enough position had he kept Heisem, which is ironic because he's the one that led us down this road to not have that. I mean, it was some all over the place ideas thanks to Izzy and Suri and Felicia. But Corey's the one that was trying to be logical about it. He thought he had the right strategy for himself. And now it turns out he didn't. And that's another flaw to his game. He constantly thinks he has the right decision making. That he's so stuck in his ways, he thinks it's the right strategy. And now, hindsight 2020, keeping Heisem, Cameron would have been gone. So he could have played the game more strategically than he did this week because with Cameron winning, he thought he had Cameron. Corey thought he could have Cameron do his dirty work, have America do his dirty work. Right now, Cameron is thinking Corey needs to go soon. Corey needs to go one of these next couple of times in Cameron's eyes. Corey totally misplayed the past week, and he's definitely paying for it now. And then there's people like Mimi who I wonder why she was cast. I genuinely starting to think that Mimi was cast for this to be... This entire season is a giant impractical joke on Mimi. Because she is the only person in this house that is the opposite of everyone else. Everyone else constantly ratting out their own information to people, constantly chatting away, constantly trusting everybody, constantly making alliances with everybody. And then there's poor Mimi, who doesn't want to do all of this, thinks she should play it safe and not tell everyone information, but she's stuck in a house with everybody else that does the opposite of her. And it's kind of becoming a joke. She continues to get frustrated, and I can't blame her. But I mean, it's working for her, like I said yesterday, because she's not caught up in all of this mess. But she's an easy target. She has even Jared throwing her name under the bus these days. So she's walking a thin line. I like her game because it is so opposite of everyone else's, but it feels like a giant impractical joke on her. The big talk of the past 24 hours is, of course, are they going to blindside Red and Cameron and Corey in America and vote out Blue? They've had second thoughts, of course, because this house always teeter-totters back and forth. Jared doesn't want Blue to go. And when Suri told Jared information about how he shouldn't tell Corey too much and how they might vote Blue out, Jared threw one of his hissy fits. I can see both sides here. As much as I think Jared has been playing terrible this past week as well, similar to Corey, they're both burying their games for women in the house and showmances. Suri going after people that Jared perceive on his side rather than on his mother's side, it's a hard pill for Jared to swallow. And he should maybe fight if that's the game he wants to play and go to the end with people he thinks would trust him over Suri. I can't blame him for that. I mean, it makes logical sense in a house where there's not a lot of logical sense. However, the way he goes about it, and relying on Blue, who is completely in another world. She is not in this game at all. I don't know where she is sometimes. Like today, it's hard for me to follow America's game because it has been all over the place, and she does a lot of flirting. And something I forgot to mention, my main point I forgot to mention, I'm sorry, about Corey's game and why Cameron is actually targeting him now is because America flirted with everybody before she, kind of settled for Corey now because there's this cute little dynamic or whatever. It's more awkward than cute in my opinion, but whatever. But she does a lot of cuddling with Jag, but also with Cameron. And now I think Cameron is actually jealous that America's spending all this time with Corey. Cameron was already awkward with Riley, and now I feel like he feels some kind of way about the American-Corey dynamic because I think he's jealous of that dynamic, even though it's awkward and lame and Corey's lame. But still, Cameron's jealous of it, and now it's raising Corey's threat level to Cameron. It's a joke, but that's the wild game all over the place with no sense that America has been playing for the most part. And Blue is even worse. I can't follow Blue at all. Today, Blue sits down next to Suri and Felicia, one of whom is Jared's mother in Suri, and one of whom Jared played off as his mother in Felicia. And she tells them she's thinking about putting up Jared. And I can't think of any reason whatsoever why Blue would say this. It makes no sense at all. There's no logic. There's no sense. Is she just this dumb? I mean, even if she doesn't believe Jared that his mother's in the house, and she doesn't believe Jared that it's Felicia, she still should realize that they are two very close people to Jared in this house. So why are you telling them this when you're on the block? It makes no sense. There's no sense to this. And now Suri gets this information. And, Jared's already threw a hissy fit about keeping Blue because he thinks Blue's good for his game. But she's going around telling Suri and Felicia this. I mean, if this gets them to blindside people and vote Blue out, I mean, it makes sense because Blue did it to herself. The blindside, however, it doesn't make sense to me on a game level. Why are you trying to blindside people? It's like they're always constantly trying to split the house when they talk about these blindsides. Because I feel like they could easily get Blue out if they were to talk sense with Red and Cameron. Like, Red trusts Suri completely. So wanting to blindside Red makes no sense for Suri's game, in my opinion. Red is more loyal to Suri than her fucking son right now, in my opinion. So why blindside Red in this? I think that just hurts her own game. Although Suri's playing such a good social game and she has all these connections, that at some point she's going to have to hurt someone's feelings, and she's going to have to, kind of sever some relationships that she has. That's what's going to be hard for her to get a jury vote in the end, although I do think her social game is good enough to get a jury vote in the end. But, when you're aligning with everybody, that's usually what creates a better jury. I still think it's a little too soon to blindside Red. I mean, I would love to see the blindside in the sense that I would love for Corey to be blindsided. Because, like I said, he is a little too cocky with his own viewpoint, with his own strategy. He thinks his strategy is it. And so far, it hasn't been it. And he was the one that put out the fun the last two times that they wanted to do a blindside. So if he gets blindsided, I would love that. However, as a strategy, I think the actual blindside isn't necessary. I think you are just trying to split the house if you do that. But I mean, also, is Cameron and Corey and America going to all be able to work together when Cameron feels some kind of jealousy or whatever with Corey and America's relationship? Probably not. But I think, Red gets hurt in that foursome. And I think Red is actually a good dude so far. I hate that he plays a character half the time. And I think that's why his social game sucks. If he would just be more of his authentic self, then he would have a better social game. But he doesn't. But I do like Red, honestly, as a whole. If we're comparing Red and Cameron, obviously Red is better than Cameron in that. But yeah, other than that, we'll see. They're going to flip-flop. I'm probably not going to have time to update tomorrow, so I guess I will be back with you all on Wednesday night. We have all these showmances starting. Too much showmance feats for me. I mean, Jared and Blue keep on having sex, apparently. And Jared seems to be talking to her about how, he's okay with humping and dumping her, and they're probably not going to be a thing outside the house. Yeah, I don't know what Jared's relationship is with his woman outside the house, but it's pretty awkward. If it's not an open relationship, then it's just very, very strange. The whole dynamic between Jared and Blue has always been strange. I guess they're just there to get their rocks off, but you have Jared hurting his game for it, and then you have Blue, where is she? She's not in the Big Brother house, because her opinions, the things she does, the things she thinks, she's not there. It's like she's not even there. I don't know where her mind is, but it's not in the Big Brother house at all.